This is where I would start. Hello, welcome. Show these things. Hello, welcome to TCS True Jedi Rush. I'm an anonymous source, and we're gonna get right into it. Time is gonna start right when I skip this text crawl in 3, 2, 1, go. Now, True Jedi Rush. Let's start with the very beginnings. What is a True Jedi? The True Jedi is kind of an unlockable thing you can get when you get a certain number of studs in every level. So that amount of studs is going to be different in every level, but based on roughly the length and difficulty of the level. So in this level, I need to get 40,000 studs to get True Jedi. In many other levels, that will be higher. And yeah, of course, studs, the main currency of LEGO games. In this case, studs, you get them by doing all kinds of things. Some are just sitting on the ground, or you have to destroy stuff, or build stuff, or force stuff. Studs are absolutely everywhere, but some places certainly have more than others. As for the rush part of that category name, most important thing to know is that we are playing in free play, which is going to let us do a lot of pretty crazy stuff, such as this clip right here, skip right through that wall. Anakin's pod, the ship I'm using, that's ship for ship levels because it does move the fastest, but also it is very small, and one switch to my left is the very large clone arc fighter, and that difference in size is going to make these clips possible and get through a ton of walls. If you've never watched a free play run of this game before, it'll become very apparent very fast that it's insanely broken. So, haven't been doing a lot of stud collecting so far, but that is just so I can get to the end of the level. It is the end of the level that has the most studs, so we're just kind of rushing there. Gonna shoot the core, and that'll get us to this end section, this chase section that does have the most studs. And I'm switching to the Millennium Falcon because it has a little side cannon that's going to shoot everything on the walls for me, just auto-target it. And I'm just spamming shoot, destroying stuff, getting all the studs. So we will be able to get to the 40k we need pretty fast now. Yeah, just a little bit more. Unfortunate I have to go into this room, but maybe I could have, stopped and collected more. But regardless, we're going to get there now. That is True Jedi number 1 collected. And we're going to move into our first ground level, entering with Droideka and Yoda. Droideka being the fastest normal character, but there is actually one character faster, and we're going to see him right away. That is the mouse droid, available with extra toggle, the extra toggle extra on Death Star levels only. So this is one of them, and you see him there. Moves twice as fast as a normal character. Really useful guy to have. Not quite as much in this category though, because he doesn't do anything. He can't shoot, he can't jump. He really can only move fast, so we're gonna have to be switching around to our other characters to do a lot of our, stud collecting stuff. So yeah, 80,000 studs needed in this level, which is a little bit tight, given how, small the level is. But one thing that's going to come in handy quite a lot is going to be power-ups. Now, power-ups, we have a lot of extras that give most of the effects of power-ups on, but the one thing we don't have is score times 2. The power-up is going to double all of the studs that we get, which obviously is going to help a lot. A huge part of this category is going to be finding every power-up in the game and finding out ways to bring it to places that have a lot of studs. And that's what we're doing here. We get that power-up, we go for all of the blue studs in this room. And then we're going to go get another power-up, and we're going to bring it into this red room. Also has a ton of studs. And we're even going to collect a couple on the way down before we enter. And yeah, get the mouse droid in there just for fast traversal of the room. Get that high stud there. Just a lot of blue studs, and that power-up, doubling the intake, is going to get us very close to the 80,000 we need. Unfortunately, it has ran out, but yeah, we got enough out of it. Just need a couple more. Destroy these chairs. That should be enough for 80,000. A couple of lag frames coming in. That won't happen for real. Yeah, okay. And yeah, that is the first ground level. We enter now the highest stud requirement of any level in the game, coming up right away in our third level. That is the Battle of Endor. 110,000 studs we need. And it makes sense given that the level is just so long, but kind of interestingly, there aren't that many studs in it. They're kind of very evenly spread out, I'll say. So there's no one place we can go to get a big chunk of that requirement. We're just going to have to do a lot of stud grinding throughout the level. And yeah, I'm turning off extra toggle because there are very few characters that help with extra toggle. Mouse Droid really is the only one in this category that's of any use at all. So when we're not on a Death Star level, we're just going to want to turn that off. So we don't get our character wheel cluttered with kind of nonsense characters like the whatever stormtrooper that is I was just switching to. But yeah, I mean, for a lot of these longer OT levels, this is pretty much going to be what it's like. I'm kind of turning the level over, just grabbing, like, every stud I can. Not quite every stud. I you know, have some sense of, like, where it is faster to grab studs, and I'm focusing on those areas. There are some that are a lot slower, not worth getting if we don't have to. But it is just a lot of, like, destroying every object in my path, because that's where the studs are. Another really unfortunate thing about this level, honestly, is that the power-ups are just not well placed at all. Like, I get this power-up, but there's just nothing in this room to get studs off of it. So I'm not getting, like, any value from the ×2 on this power-up. There is another power-up later that's a little bit better, but it's still not great. And it's a part of why this level is just so long in this category. You know, it's like a 6-minute split, where a lot of other levels will be only like 1 or 2 minutes. There's, honestly, in this category, it's a much wider variation in how long levels take than in like any other category I've seen. You know, maybe like Red Brick Rush is the only one that comes close, but certainly you don't get levels this long in Red Brick Rush. So, plenty of studs still to be collected in this room and the next one. That's going to be where I get the bulk of them. One important thing to note for where I'm getting studs is from mini-kits. So, I guess to dive in a little bit more to the rush part of the category name, that means I get to play on like a completed file, every story level beaten, of course, to unlock free play, but I also get to kind of collect whatever else I want. I can buy whatever I want from the shop, with a couple of exceptions, but mostly I have all of the characters and extras that I want. But also, importantly, I can collect mini-kits from the levels. And when you collect a mini-kit canister in a level, the next time you come back, it leaves behind a blue stud in its path, instead of the canister itself. So we're taking advantage of that here. With the mini-kits collected, that is just going to be an extra couple thousand studs I can collect. Like, there's a blue stud on the kind of the top right of my screen right now. That is not there the first time you play the level, but when you get the mini-kit, it spawns that blue stud. You know, an extra 1,000. In some levels, that's going to go a long way. That's kind of the case in this one, because we're really, really desperate for stud opportunities, even though there are so many. Yeah, about halfway there now. And things are going to get a little more open in this room. This is where the more useful of the power-ups in this level is going to be. A couple of blue studs from mini-kits, and then a lot of other blue studs to be collected from other means in this level. Yeah, the power-up is just going to be right off to the right here. Let's grab it, and I'm going to go over to this blue stud, this blue stud. A lot of value to be had. And we're going to be crossing over to this side. Really good, man, I just do a full circle of this room, because there are studs in, like, the entire thing that we want to be grabbing. And now after that, I'm up to 85,000 studs. Getting pretty close to where I can enter the bunker. I do just want to quick grab the mini-kit stud back here, and then a few more things on the way to the bunker. But, you know, I do believe I've done enough now that the bunker won't take too long, and we can be out of this level relatively soon. Another cool 1,000 from that ramp build. Okay, I'm pretty sure that worked. I might have messed that up. This is just going to be the standard Better Call Paul super jump that you'll see in a category like any percent. You know, a lot of the normal free play skips are copied over to this category, but we're, of course, adding a lot onto it with all of the stud collecting. So, starting with the right side of the bunker, which does have more studs. And I'm going to clear out the enemies also. They are just a little bit annoying, but not really necessary to get rid of them. Need about 9,000 more. This bridge will give me about 1,000. And I can get a few thousand on these ledges over here, which will be nice. And I do believe I'm going to have to pop over to the left side, but only very briefly. I just need a couple thousand more. So, overall, not too bad here in Endor. But there will be a few levels like this, and they're not my favorite levels in the category, but they do give a lot of room for like skill expression and routing if you really want to dig into it. There's so much there to explore if you really want to take it seriously. Yeah, this is going to bring us to Speeder Showdown. This level is very interesting. There is... The end platform on this level has a ton of studs, but the problem is, once you go there, you cannot backtrack. So you need to know you have enough for True Jedi, because if you don't have enough studs there, you are just soft-locked. So we're going to have to clear out kind of the speeder section a little bit first. We don't need that many studs. I'm looking for around 25,000 before I can kind of do speeder skip and advance to the next section. Something I need to be very careful of here, I need to make sure I don't shoot the scout troopers. So I'm going to get in the speeder. You'll see the two icons pop up on my screen. It is really bad if I kill those guys. That is how you progress the level normally, but progressing the level normally means that I am like stuck in some section. I have to get in an ATST and do some other nonsense. When in reality, I really want to just grab a few studs and then go do speeder skip. So, okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I wanted to not do. But it's tough, because you want to be shooting as much as possible to, you know, try to get the studs, to break the stuff. But if you do it too much or at the wrong times, this will happen. It's not too bad the first time. And I am now going to have enough studs, but it's just a little annoying to get back in the speeder, and, like, I have to go do a lot of backtracking to get back to the speeder skip area. But that does give me a chance to get a few safety studs. That is more than enough, though. 28,000. And so I'm just going to stop shooting. Yeah, there's speeder skip. It's not the end of the world. I guess when you really know what you're doing, it's fine. But a lot of people, will, you know, like the first time you do that mistake, you just end up in this section, you're like, I have no idea how to get out of this. This is not supposed to happen. Where am I going? But it's going to work out fine for me here. And I think I can skip the grapple build because I have enough studs, but I'm going to be getting everything else from this room. Because I don't want to really leave it to chance, you know, whether I'm going to have True Jedi or be soft-locked when I come up to the end platform. But this is definitely enough studs. After I just grab these blues, I forgot to get those. So yeah, end platform, there's just a power-up right in front of me. And that's going to make things very nice. So you just pick it up, and now I can just circle, destroy all of these little gates, and they all have studs. And so pretty soon I will be able to save an exit level with True Jedi. 70,000 is the requirement. Getting actually very scarily close to running out of studs, I'm not going to lie. But we get there, we get there. Alright, this brings us into Carcoon next. And yeah, 65,000 is the stud requirement here. Not too tight of one to hit. There's just plenty of opportunities in the first skiffs and on the end platform to get a lot of studs. And we're just going to double jump slam these like sets of gates, and there's just a million studs that spit out from them. You know, no blues, but the golds will add up when it's this many. Okay, a little bit of a failure of movement there, but otherwise everything's going fine here. And yeah, we get to this. We do have to complete this Boba fight, but that's going to be very quick, thanks to Droideka and his very good ability to attack fast. And these gates, I'm not going to destroy them, because you can't destroy them until after that ship, like, locks into place, which, like, takes a few seconds. I'd have to wait around for it. Not really worth it. There's still plenty of studs elsewhere to be had. So, I'm going to do a little 1v2. Here, player 2 is going to be getting these studs out of the double score zone, and I can move on with player 1. Precise little boba fly here to get across that gap without pulling any levers, and there's some cool tech here. I'm going to force this up, and now I can jump on it and triple jump up to the top instead of needing to build the grapple you're supposed to build. Not actually going to get the mini kit up there. I'm just going to, grab the studs that are sort of low-hanging fruit. And this will let me get through the next part of the level. Very chaotic in here. Sort of an unfortunate thing up ahead. There's this blue stud behind the barrier, and you can collect like every other stud behind it with stud magnet, but that blue stud you have to actually clip in to get, and that's not worth it. We have a lot to be gained in, for example, this room. And I think this room is a good example of a place that you never go in any category except for this one. There actually might be a challenge kit here. I don't remember, but certainly you don't interact with anything the way you do here. Oh, I missed a blue stud. You can, like, barely see that thing through the wall. I don't know how I didn't grab it with stud magnet, but yeah. Otherwise, though, I need about 10k more. That should be pretty achievable if I can just shoot this power up. Please target. Thank you. Yeah, this is going to give me a couple of blue studs up here. And this one might end it right here. Yes. Alright. Next up is going to be Jabba's Palace. We're going to get... I briefly passed a double score zone earlier. Didn't really explain it. It is honestly pretty self-explanatory, but we're going to get another example up ahead. It is just an area on the map where any studs you collect are doubled, which is very good. And also, you should recall that if you collect studs with a power-up, you also double those studs. So we have a chance, if you can bring a power-up to a double score zone, you get ×4 studs for that brief moment. And that is what we're going to do up ahead. After I do this clip, we're going to find a power-up on our right, and we're going to bring it to the double score zone up ahead. After I build this, just gonna let some studs spit out so I can get them with the power-up. Extra 2k there. And this is the double score zone after I pull these levers. And there's a little stud generator in there. Those also exist all over the place, give you quite a few studs, though this one, not as many as some of the others, which is a bit unfortunate. Some of them will give you like 10,000, and you can imagine that would basically end the level on the spot, but a bit more work to be done here in Jabba's Palace. Yeah, a few studs on the right again. This is a mini kit that I have collected. Yeah, I will say I mentioned we have access to basically anything we would want on the completed file, with some exceptions. That is, of course, stud multipliers are the main thing. Maybe I should do Yoda grab explanation there. Yeah, I definitely should do that there. Okay. Note for later, but I'm probably done explaining that around now. Okay. And that's going to take us now into this next room. We're going to do an extended out of bounds. For those that don't know, out of bounds mechanics, basically, it's very convenient. You can just, like, walk out of bounds. As long as you stay moving, you're not going to fall. Or you have to stay moving, and there has to be a floor above you. But, those conditions are both met there, so I can just stay up for as long as I want out of bounds. And you can also control your height. If you stop moving, you'll fall. If you jump, you'll go up. So, out of bounds movement in this game, very nice. We're going to be using that a lot to, skip anything we want in this game. Combine it with, like, the ability to get out of bounds basically anywhere with some other mechanics I'll get into when I have a chance. Yeah, out of bounds movement's very powerful. And one other thing I should mention with out of bounds movement, if you do a free play character swap while out of bounds, it'll just warp you up to the floor above you, which is, at times a hindrance, but also can be really nice to just, quickly get up to that floor and get back to rolling with Droidica, which is going to be faster than moving with whatever character you're trying to use out of bounds. So yeah, I'm not so sure about my stud count. That's why I'm really being thorough in this room. Sometimes I will skip all that stuff, but usually when I do, I end up not having enough. So we're just going to get that all now. There is another power-up coming up, which is not the most useful, but there are a few blue studs near it. I do want to just set up to make sure that that will be enough for me to get True Jedi. Definitely will be at this point. I only need 60,000, so that's about 7,000 more. And yeah, just gonna grab this power-up, use this panel, and we should be able to end things in this little hut here. That little closet with the mini-kit. And yeah, that is the end of episode 6. One of the longest in the category, alongside episode 5. It'll get a lot faster later on. We get some very quick ones in the future. But coming into Bestman, 60,000 studs, not that quick of a level. Still faster than some of the episode 6 levels, certainly. I should probably explain a little bit more of the free play tech I've been doing. Yeah, I mean, I think you can see how broken it is. I should explain at least the real backbone of all the free play tech is going to be the triple jump. And that is a little piece of tech you can do with any character that has a double jump slam. You do the double jump, that obviously gives you 2 of the 3 jumps in the triple jump. But then, when you do the slam, it gives you... The slam animation is weird because it does stop your momentum and bring you down, but before it does that, it actually gives you a little bit of upward height boost, a little bit of upward momentum in the slam animation. It's like a ground pound. You'll see, like, it's very similar in, like, Mario 64 or something. You'll see, like, you can do a ground pound to get just a little bit of extra height at the peak of your jump. It's very similar with the slam, except we can take that little boost that gives you your peak height, and we can switch characters. And switching characters will cancel the jump, the slam animation, but it will keep the momentum that you get. And that basically enables the third jump here. So yeah, a couple examples of that here. You just have to switch immediately after you slam for best results. And it's pretty customizable, honestly. Like, if you want distance, you can switch to, in this case, it's Boba Fett to my right. If you want height, you can also triple jump to, like, Droidica, who's on the left. And that, of course, just gives you way more height and way more distance than you are ever supposed to get from a jump. And that alone is enough to obsolete, like, a huge portion of the normal puzzles and stuff in this game. Alright, so we're going to be just collecting as many studs as we can out of this room. There is a double score zone up ahead that is going to hopefully get me the last of my studs. I do believe I have enough now. I'm also going to call in player 2 there. I want to make sure that he switches to Yoda. He was, before on R2, you could hear the infinite death loop going on in the headphones, I'm sure. But you want player 2 to be on Ghost Yoda at the end of every level, because that is who we're bringing into the level next time. So if we just get the characters right when we leave, then I don't have to do anything on the character select screen in the next level. I can just spam the A button all through those menus. Next up, very fast level, Cloud City Trap. Only 22,000 studs required, so we're going to get those pretty quickly, especially with the help of a power-up pretty early on. Before I get that, I am just going to take a quick diversion over to this platform, grab that blue, do a bit of a weird Boba Fly. It's pretty precise just because the angle is, like, very unintuitive that you have to hold to get this fly. A little bit of a damage boost from the troopers. That's going to be a big help. Thank you for that. And yeah, we're on to this now. We get the power up. We shoot this. And, when the stud requirement is as low as 22,000, every blue stud I pick up with the power up is 2,000. It's going to mean a lot. So we're going to come into this room as well. Get that mini kit stud. And unfortunately, that is about all we can get with the power up. I'm calling in player 2 to position him. Going to skip that camera pan by swapping to my other player who I, positioned correctly by calling him in. Small little free play time save. And we're back to the stud grabbing. Only need 7,000 more, and there's just plenty of blue studs in this kind of DVT into DV2 section. A couple of these are mini kits. That is an incredibly good respawn I just got. Yeah, a lot of moving platforms that I'm jumping on right now, which do not let you respawn, so you definitely don't want to do what I did and die after jumping on a bunch of those. Oh, character management. But yeah, still pretty fast level CCT. And we're going to get out of there and into Dagobah next. Now, in 72,000 is the stud requirement in Dagobah. Not too bad, but we do have to be a little bit thorough in some spots. You're going to see me like building the ramps right away in room 1, just to get an extra couple thousand. You're going to make things a little more comfortable going forward. But we do have Yoda's Hut, which is a really nice double score zone. Sadly, there's no power-up we can bring there. And that is... There's a couple spots like that where, like, if there was a power-up I could bring into this double score zone, it would save genuinely, like, a minute and a half. There's a couple like that. I honestly think the Batsman one at the end is sort of like that, too. Where it's like, I just wish I had that extra ×2. It would have been crazy. But, as far as I know, no power-ups in the area. Still a lot of studs to be had, though. Yoda definitely keeps some stuff laying around in this hut that we can be destroying. And yeah, we're gonna just get absolutely everything we can. I don't want to let any of these studs despawn, and now back to just forcing stuff. Accidentally force pulled R4 there. Didn't mean to, but he kind of deserves it. And yeah, we're going to pop into the Luke's training area. Not for very long, but there's some very dense patches of flowers at the start. And you can just see a million gold studs flying into the bank off of that one. But there's not as many on the other platforms, so we are just going to back out after that. And start playing a little more casually. Well, not really. I mean, I don't know if they intended this boba fly over the gap here, but we can do it. Just, yeah, very small time save there. Gonna be able to get this blue stud above us. Now, in the next room, there is a bit of a weird mini-kit stud on my right. It will appear... You can see the stud right now, and it looks like it's there, but you can't actually collect it until after you build this grapple. And yeah, it replaces a mini-kit that behaves the same way. But it's not a big deal in this category, because, like, I kind of want to be building that grapple anyway, because that drops studs. Everything you do gets studs. It's sort of a fun, like, symbiosis thing where, like, you do this one activity that not only gives you studs, but it also unlocks access to more studs. Alright, but yeah, coming into the Vader fight, another power-up, and we're going to be able to grab some scattered blue studs thanks to it. I'm also going to be building a box down here to really get the most out of it. And this is a spot where I am kind of determining my end room route based on my stud count. First I have to do this clip, which is honestly a little bit challenging. Oh. Yeah, this timing is pretty weird, and I'm struggling a lot more than I expected to. Actually, it doesn't help that Vader is just here. He is not normally there. I actually don't know why he's chasing me, but he is getting in the way. Bum 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 bum. I have to really get the timing down. Bum 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 bum. Yeah, it almost worked. Alright, I'll have to watch the other video before tomorrow. Alright, but yeah, I need around 10,000 studs. I think I can get there if I just start with the flowers, the plants all around here. Yeah, I need less than 4,000 now. I'm going to be boba flying over to here. Get 2 blues, and I can end it right now. I'm going to call in player 2 for quick character manage, and now I can finally be out of this level. I mean, it's not even the true Jedi stuff giving me pause. That was just a straight-up free play trick I was missing for quite a while. But it's fine. Alright, we move on to Falcon Flight. Not my favorite vehicle level in the category. I think the vehicle levels, there's a very mixed bag. Some of them are honestly kind of good, like Rebel Attack. I really like that level. But Episode 5 has some pretty bad ones, in my opinion. There are going to be quite a few studs we can collect later, but we need still to get some studs before we can get to that section that really has a lot of them. I'm flying with my ships together here so we can just kind of clear out everything and then have 2 players to just kind of together grab all the gold studs that come out. So yeah, we're going to be clearing out this section. A little awkward, but we got it down. Certainly, if you were better at 1P2C than me, you could be, like, switching to the pod racer in between these, but that's not that important. Alright, we get out of there. A little over 12,000 studs. I need 25,000 is my number I'm looking for. It's 48,000 to get True Jedi. At 25,000, I can kind of advance to the last section of the level, which is going to be the faster part where you can really get a lot of studs, but not quite enough without some help beforehand. So, there's a power-up in this room. You can get the mini-kit there for 2,000. You can get, shoot these rocks. They'll have a few hundred studs each. It's, not a very inspiring amount of studs for them to be dropping, but every little bit is going to help. Yeah, need out 10k, a little less than 10k more coming out of this room. Yeah, 7,000 from the first part of this room. There is a mini-kit up ahead that's going to be worth 1,000. And other than that, I just have to be shooting these rocks. Yeah, one little, I'd say, inconvenient mechanic when it comes to this stuff. The studs that drop from objects aren't collectible right away. You have to wait about a second before you're able to grab them. So that just makes the movement a little bit more awkward, especially because the ships can't, like, stop and wait. So, you see me do a lot of, like, U-turns to try to go back and get them. It's just, a little bit inconvenient, but nothing we can't manage. And 1 or 2 more of these rocks, and I'm going to be moving forward in the level. Yeah, let's grab this one, and then I'm good to go. Yeah, hit the 25,000 I wanted. And it'll be much smoother sailing in the end of this level. We get a few studs from the torpedo targets, for example. And up ahead, we're going to shoot these little mini-kit targets on the ground, and those give a lot of studs, actually. Because not only do you get the mini-kit that is in the target, but they also just drop an extra, like, 3k on the ground. Oh, that one's even more. That's, yeah. It's a lot of studs, and that is going to get us the rest of the way there. The rocks in the boulder room don't drop... Okay, where... The rocks in the boulder room don't drop any studs, so it is important that we get there. We get as many studs as we need before we get there. There is a mini-kit back there. That's sort of the, like, last resort stud, but after I get that mini-kit, there's nothing else. I don't know if I'm gonna need to... I guess I need, like, 6,000 more. This is a double score zone, but other than the mini-kit over here, nothing's really gonna drop that many studs. There's a few more there. I'm close. I'm, like, struggling to do the math. I don't think I'm close enough. Yeah, I need, like, a few hundred more. A little inconvenient. We're gonna get there on the torpedo wall right here. And that will be the end of it in just a moment. Yeah. Alright, get me out of there. And that's gonna take us now into Echo Base. Echo Base, another pretty long ground level. We do get sort of introduced to the wonders of potential torpedo despawns. Or not torpedoes, sorry, power-up despawns. Which are annoying when they happen. This is the only place where it's, like, relatively common. I guess actually Carcoon was in the past, but we avoided that one. Why am I getting lag frames? Alright, there's a stud generator back here, and it's a pretty good one. It's gonna give me like 6,000 or so. But otherwise, just gonna want to clear out everything we can out of this section. And I pre-forced the stuff for this mini kit here. It's gonna be another blue stud for us, and I'm going to be building and destroying. What is happening? I'm gonna be building and destroying this bomb, kind of as you would in any percent, but I'm not actually gonna take that path. Because there's not many studs in that room that I'm skipping, other than one blue stud, which I am going to conveniently stud magnet grab. So coming up ahead, there is going to be a double score zone, but it's sort of an unfortunate one. It's a very small one, and the way these studs work is it looks at where you are when you collect the stud, and not where the stud is. And because of stud magnet, we are not in the double score zone when we grab those blue studs. So even though the studs are in a double score zone, we don't actually get ×2 on those. I could, like, turn stud magnet off to get it, but it's just probably not worth it. I don't know, that is some, like, route innovation someone could bring in, is toggling stud magnet strategically at points. There's also a lot of places where you want to turn off stud magnet because maybe you're going to get a power-up, and you want to kind of save all the studs for the power-up. But I would say these situations are rare enough and not meaningful enough for it to be worth, like, scrolling down in the extras menuing and just doing all of that extra menuing work. Yeah, this is the power-up. It didn't despawn for us, thankfully. It's honestly not that bad if it despawns, but it's like, you just have to be very tight with your routing going forward. And that's not something I want to have to do. I want to be able to play pretty loosely, because that's how I actually can go fast. Just barely getting all those studs in before the power-up runs out. What? Not genuinely. I gotta figure this out. This is probably gonna happen again. Alright. Couple things we can build here, just, you know, pretty standard stuff. I guess this maybe it's a good time to explain also Yoda clipping. I talked about triple jumping earlier, but if you triple jump with Yoda into a ceiling, you can clip through. And we'll try to do that right here. This one's a bit weird because the ceiling is so low, but we did get out. Basically, Yoda's hitbox is very low, and so when you switch to another character, and especially, I should say, during the slam animation, Yoda's hitbox goes very low. So when you switch to another character during that animation, your, like, character position jumps up quite a bit because you're going off of this low character into a much higher one. And if you do that with the right timing in the right place, you can clip through any ceiling in the game, essentially. It is a little bit weird. Yeah, I'm just not even gonna... It is a little bit weird in the way that, like, the timing of the inputs you need to Yoda clip is different in basically every place you do it. So, you know, it just leads to a really large variety. Some of them are very easy, some of them are pretty hard. Yeah, I really don't understand that part of it well at all. It's like, why does this timing work for this clip but not others? You know, that's something that applies to every free play category. Yoda clips are super universal, incredibly useful anytime you're in free play or challenges. And they're going to do a lot for us here. This one is weird because the collision is, like, only open above the door. But we got out. And I need, like, 16,000 studs. So we'll see what we can get with this power-up. I'm gonna go up and build this. I'm hoping for a blue stud drop. That would be really nice. Thank you. Yeah, it is random what studs drop from certain things. Obviously, the amount of studs is standardized, but it can do that in kind of many different denominations. This is something that's been really only explored recently with any percent Roger skip. The way that, like, 1/3 of the time, if you're dropping 1,000 studs, 1/3 of the time it'll be one blue stud, and, the other 2/3 you'll get a mix of gold and silver studs. And, here we want the blue stud drop as much as possible because we just want all the studs in one place. Very easy to collect it that way. Coming into Hawk Battle, 35,000 studs required, which is a pretty low number, but they're really, it's low for a reason. There aren't that many studs to get. We're going to do a barrier flip right now. I'm going to do a flip against the wall, call in at the peak of the flip, and that'll be enough height to get over the wall. And very important that we do this, because we're going to get into a double score zone, which will be giving us most of our studs in this level. I mean, really, like, double score zone here, we gotta really, like, take advantage, just get literally every stud we can in this section. And doing that so far, destroying these things on the outside, I also am going to use Vehicle Smart Bomb now, and blow up all of the ATSTs, because that is what you need to do to spawn in this mini-kit. And yeah, we're going to exit 21,000, pretty good stuff. And now I can do a little ship clip into this rock against the barrier, and I can get out of bounds, skip over basically all of room 1, do a little bit of navigation here to hit the transition. And we get into room 2, which starts off with a power-up. And, I mean, the rest of the way, pretty much all the studs we can get are just going to be from destroying rocks. So we will be destroying them fast. And, thanks to the power-up, doubling our stud output from that. Not that many studs in any of these rocks, but we don't need a huge amount, especially with the power-up. We got a bunch from the double score zone. The stud requirement, not huge to begin with. So just about 6,000 more studs needed. And there are going to be a couple mini-kits down this path that will get me the rest of the way. After I just grab a few rocks. Yeah, that's plenty good enough. We're going to grab this mini-kit on the left side. And the other studs that fall when you destroy the capsule that it's in. And we can just end with these rocks on the bottom with the mini-kit. And a couple hundred more studs, that's going to be enough. That is episode 5 done. So we are now done with the 2 longest episodes of the run. Things are going to speed up a good amount going forward. I'm especially looking forward to episode 2. That's a very fast one, but episode 4 coming up next has a couple of really fun routes I'm excited to show. Not quite so much in Rebel Attack, this first level we're playing, but this level is my favorite vehicle level of the category. I'd say it's the only non-auto-scroller vehicle level that still feels like it just has a ton of studs. I guess that kind of describes 6.6, but this is better. We're going to get it from these blue turret things that are all over the level. They drop about 2,000 studs. So, gonna just be destroying them as much as we can. Also gonna get some, there's a mini-kit behind this little wall here. Still so many studs everywhere in the level. We're also gonna be destroying these torpedo targets. There is a clip you can do to skip this barrier, but, when playing it casually also just drops 4,000 studs. You might as well do that in this situation. And yeah, I'm gonna pick up this mini-kit, similar to the Falcon Flight ones, You shoot the torpedo, you get the mini-kit, you also just get a bunch of studs along the way. And this is going to take me into room 2. A set of 3 turrets at the start is going to be great, and coming up ahead, there's going to be a power-up, and that's really going to open things up. We need 45,000 studs in this level. We're already about halfway there, and this power-up is going to get us the rest of the way. Because also, when we clip into room 3, you're going to see there's just a million turrets in this room. 3 of them on the left we can destroy real quick. And then we go up to the top and we see a line of 4 in a row. And I really don't need that many more studs. And that is going to be enough exiting Rebel Attack. Pretty quick level. And honestly, this next one's fairly fast as well. Death Star Escape, you need 65,000. But I can get a lot of them very fast, especially at the end of the level. That's where the real money is to be made. So there is a power-up early on I'm going to try to take advantage of. Oh yeah, we can also turn extra toggle back on. We can revisit our friend the mouse droid. That's pretty cool. Love some mouse droid movement. Obviously very fast character. He's going to just be able to fly over these buttons. No 1P2C, no vehicle required. And we're going to position player 2 here by the gate. And hopefully the camera cooperates. We're going to be grabbing this power-up, grabbing a couple of blue studs as we use the panel. And that's going to be good. Unfortunately, I will not be collecting the famous Wii Super blue stud down here. But there are a couple of blue studs nearby that are very good to get with the power-up. And with that, we can basically skip through like half of the level right now with Ripmore Skip. Do a little triple jump to Mouse Droid, incredibly far distance when you can triple jump to Mouse Droid. And that's going to skip over the rest of that room and then all of the Ripmore room and the little turnaround room in between. Struggling a little bit to have my correct characters. You need Mouse Droid to make that far of a triple jump. And we're going to go back to the very start of this hallway now, where get your DSE Grape emotes in the chat. I want to see a lot of DSE Grapes because we are going to be using those to get some studs. The pillars that they hide in have over 1,000 studs each, and then we get the mini-kit stud at the end, so it is worth tanking the camera pans, and, you know, we're happy to have the camera pans in as a chance to just kind of see the DSE Grape. And yeah, that is going to be... I mean, I get this power up, and you see how many blues I'm able to collect with it, and even better, I can chain it into another power up. So, that's why this level is honestly pretty quick. We didn't have to do basically... I mean, we had to do very little before jumping to the end, because the end just has so many studs. I'm going to clip into this room, and this room is where you normally get the droids in story mode. It also just has a million studs in it. Okay, struggling to find my correct character management here. I am, like, literally 100 studs short. And get those down here. No problem at all. Alright. And, alright, our next level, staying on the Death Star, a little bit more mouse droid gameplay. This level is a very unique route. It's really wacky. It can go very wrong sometimes, but when it goes right, it's incredibly cool. I'm a really big fan of this level when it goes correctly. And we're going to start just clearing out this beginning area with a very underwhelming stud generator. That gives like 1,000 studs. You know, do better. But, yeah, I'm a little low, so I'm just going to play it safe on this free play movement. Getting into the next room. And this hallway and kind of the next, you know, the similar hallways coming up ahead have quite a lot of studs. And it's going to be even better when we get the power-up in this little pillar. I'm just going to shoot everything up ahead, and now switch to Mouse Droid, and he can collect all of the profits. You know, quick jump across this gap. Again, Mouse Droid just makes the movement so fast, we have basically teleported to the end of this hallway now. Maybe not that fast, but, you know, very quick character. Does make the level and the movement a lot more fun, in my opinion. And the stud requirement on this level is 80,000. I have quite a bit of work to do with Steam, but I actually really only need to get 40,000 before I can enter the end of the level sequence. So, if I can actually get this clip, I'm going to just do the other clip. I'm going to destroy some stuff along the way, and we should be able to get to 40,000 very easily. There is also a blue stud in the next room I can rely on, but we're just going to grab that, yeah. So now, more than enough studs to enter this weird little room on the side. And you may have never seen this room in your life, because there's no mini-kit, there's no challenge kit, there's no red brick, there's no reason to ever come into this room unless you want studs. You see, I'm shooting TIE Fighters right now, and it's counting to 10. Once I get 10 TIE Fighters killed, which, wow, I am doing everything in my power to miss them, apparently. Once I get to 10 TIE Fighters killed, it's going to drop 20,000 studs. We're going to get to see the first purple stud of the run even, worth 10,000 studs. That will be among the pile of studs here. You know, it's a lot, but, I mean, if you can do math, you heard me say 80,000 studs. 20,000 plus 40, that is not enough studs. But, here's what I can do. I'm going to get, hopefully that, okay, not that TIE Fighter. One more TIE Fighter, I'm going to have 9. And now I get out, and I go back to the last room, and there's a power-up sitting right here. And I'm going to bring it back into this room, and I'm going to shoot one more TIE Fighter, hopefully before the power-up runs out. Okay, yes. And now I can collect these 20,000 studs, all with the power-up, all doubled, and that's going to be true Jedi. Yeah, really cool level. I really love when you can do some fun routing stuff like that, just creative ways to bring the power-ups to the studs. And we're going to see something very similar, honestly, coming up in the next level. Spaceport. 100,000 studs is the requirement, tied for the second most in the entire game. But this is actually a very quick level. Now, probably should have had player 2 called in just for the normal free play stuff you would do. Can I get on the speeder, please? That's not supposed to happen, but no worries, we are on our way. Gonna grab that blue stud just kind of automatically thanks to Stud Magnet. And just using the panel, very normally going to the next room. I guess the speeder can go collect stuff while I wait for the door to open. But that's super minor. I am gonna... And I'm not going to do the deload that you would normally do. I'm instead just going to go ahead and grab this power-up on player 1. Forgot to shoot this wall, but that's fine. But yeah, I can like get this blue stud with the power-up. There's also one in the corner up ahead. And the guys will all just kind of die themselves because of deflect bolts and EBB and invincibility. What am I missing? There's still guys. Alright. Oh yeah, we have Womprat. Womprat's another extra toggle character, not the most useful. He has the same movement speed as Droideka, but similar to Mouse Droid, can't jump, can't attack, can't do anything. The only reason really to use him is that he maintains his airspeed where Droideka doesn't. So, still technically better to be doing like triple jumps to Womprat, but at this point I am just going to turn extra toggle off. I have gotten everything I need from him. So, yeah, 100,000 studs is the requirement. I have entered the last room of the level. I only have, under 20k. This is going to be, that will get me to 20,000. You may be wondering where I plan on getting all my studs. And there is a place. There is an incredible place coming up for me to get them. If I can actually hit the right room. Oh, yeah, I actually want to do this with player 2. I'm kind of loving this. My hand is in the wrong place on the keyboard. Okay, we're gonna open the door to the stud to the movie theater, and now we're going to keep player 2 called in. We're gonna stretch the camera so that player 1. Okay, I invited some chaos that I was not ready for. This is gonna be annoying, but we're gonna grab the power up and then immediately enter the theater, and we're just gonna start shooting. And this place is a double score zone. We have a power up, so it's ×4 studs, and there are so many studs in this place. It's really insane. And, everything you do is just dropping thousands of studs. So many blues flying around. And that is how we can get to 100,000 super quickly in Spaceport. Alright. That aside, we have one more long level in the original trilogy. It's going to be through the Jumlin Wastes. 90,000 studs required. And I think similar to something like Endor, there is just going to be a lot of, somewhat tedious stud grabbing, just kind of grinding out every part of the level. There will be a couple of power-ups to help us. There's a nice stud generator coming up. But other than that, not a ton of action. So yeah, I've explained triple jumps and Yoda clips. One more very important piece of free play tech that you are seeing even more often than any of those by, an order of magnitude, is the animation cancel with Droideka. Normally when you shoot with Droideka, you get, I kind of had it there, he has this animation where he, shoots twice and then stops in place, and you have to, wait a second or two before you can shoot again. But by switching off of Droideka, I'm switching you know, immediately like switch to C-3PO, switch right back to Droideka. By doing that, I can reset the animation, cancel it, as we would say, and that is going to allow me to just start attacking again immediately. You know, I can chain those together and attack a lot faster than I'm supposed to be able to. And that is, I mean, remarkably useful for just clearing out, you know, destroying stuff as I have been doing all over the place in this category. You know, a bit underrated. It's like hardly, I don't even view it as a glitch really, but it is the most important piece of tech in all this entire category, even more than all of the Yoda clips and triple jumps I'm doing. Yeah. I'm gonna, destroy all this stuff. A couple of blues behind there, and going to be entering the Sandcrawler in just a moment. There are quite a few studs to be had in the lower Sandcrawler, and we're gonna get a quick 1P2C in here, and we're gonna build the stud generator. I gotta be honest, my 1P2Cing has not been very good here. It's really hard in this category, I gotta say. I mean, all of the reasons why 1P2C and something like any percent is actually pretty approachable are just totally out the window here. Like, in any percent, you're doing, like, very... Okay, both players got deactivated by the Jawas, that's very funny, but I can switch off of it, so it's no big deal. But yeah, in any percent, you're doing a lot of, like, this player only has to hold, like, 1 or 2 buttons, or, like, the movement is super standardized. A lot of reasons why that 1P2C is not as hard as it could look on the surface. That doesn't really exist in True Jedi Rush, where, like, animation canceling is a super, like, input-intensive thing to do, and that is a bulk of the movement in the category is, like, Droideka animation canceling, or maybe triple jumping, stuff like that. So it's super hard to 1P2C that, but also your movement is not as, like, consistent from run to run, because, like, you have to follow the stud spread wherever it goes. No, I missed a few studs back here. But yeah, you have to follow the stud spread wherever it goes, so, like, you have to watch the character to know where to go. Where, you know, in a lot of any percent 1B2C, you can have a character where it's like, I know this guy's, like, pushing a box or building something, so I can look away for 10 seconds and just hold that button. You know, I just know I need to go straight forward, so I don't have to focus on this character. You know, let's watch the other one that is actually, like, doing a trick or something. You know, you just don't have a lot of situations where both characters are not doing much. Okay, I don't know why I'm doing the trick like that. But yeah, you do have to kind of go on the left because there's the double score zone back here, which is a little inconvenient. Certainly a right side would have been a lot comfier, and we don't have Gonk Droid on the file. Maybe an oversight on my part, because that is also the strat I normally do there, relies on Gonk Droid. Yeah, I need still 15,000 more studs. There is a power-up coming up that's going to help me a lot in collecting them. And thankfully the Dewback has no interest in blocking me today. So yeah, we can get those, get back in the speeder, and just grab a few of these blue studs along my path. We have one here, and then there's the mini-kit stud. Okay, that one's going to make me get out of the speeder, that's right. That is consistent behavior, I just kind of forgot about it. We will be able to end the level right here. And honestly, not a bad split. As much as, like, these long levels, honestly, it feels like you're playing poorly because you're just in there for so long, but you just, like, have to do that. There's no other way to get that many studs in some of these levels. Definitely not the case here. This one is very fast. Basically, there's a power-up in Room 1, and there's also a double score zone in Room 1, so you should already know what the plan is. Also, the stud requirement for True Jedi is only 40,000. Incredibly low for a level this long. And that's going to mean I don't have to go anywhere past Room 1. Like, I take the power-up, I enter the double score zone, I get 1,000,000 blue studs, and that is going to be just a couple more studs. Okay, there it is. True Jedi in Room 1. and a 47-second split. And yeah, that's the end of the original trilogy now. We can move into the prequels. Starting with Darth Vader, this level also pretty quick. Um, we'll see if I can get the tech in room 1 to get through that fast. Okay, we are not letting me into the door. That's pretty cool. Love the Cantina AI sometimes, but yeah. I'm going to be very careful about my movement here. If player 2 dies, then it resets the room for both of us. So I have to do some very specific tech because player 2 is Yoda, who is very slow. They will die, and you actually, if you were looking at the background, you would see them like actively falling into the lava. But because of the little slash thing I did at the beginning, I like gave them just enough of a speed boost that I could finish the room before they actually die. And yeah, a lot of studs to be had in this level. I used to go into the red brick room in the last room on the left, but you actually can just route that out because there's just so many studs in the end section as well. There's just studs everywhere. Oh, and I dropped out too early, which I didn't really have any reason to do. I just wanted to be dropping out. But player 2 likes to just go and kill themselves against that barrier, so I'm gonna be staying in a little bit longer this time. And yeah, we can grab this power up, and you can see all of the blue studs on these platforms. Also, plenty of like gold studs and stuff. That adds up as well. We should be able to end when we land on the house here and get these 3 blues. And for character management reasons, I am switching to Ghost Yoda. Just, it would be annoying. It's annoying to call in player 2 in that room. Doesn't always work. So, you're better off just being Ghost Yoda, and now I can, like, switch off. Emperor is pretty close to Droideka on the character screen. And so, I know he's going to be there. It's not a problem at all. And now we get into Ruin, and we need 75,000 studs, and this is not a big level. This level does not have that many studs. I'm really, honestly, not sure why the requirement is so high, because it is pretty hard to reach in any reasonable amount of time. We're going to have to be quite thorough with a lot of this stuff. You know, all of these little bomb things in room 1, I mean, they're not that many studs, but we just have to get them because this is about as good as it gets when we're really getting down to the last few studs we need. Yeah. This is a pretty good set of studs here at the bottom, but otherwise, I mean, I'm going to build this mini kit. There is some stud spread RNG. There's going to be a blue stud, and I want it to stay up, and it does. That's huge. Yeah, stud spread RNG is a thing in this category. Like, obviously, anytime there's an explosion of studs, it's random what direction they go. In most cases, it barely matters. And especially, like, over the course of the whole run, there's just so many of those stud spreads that, like, it just evens out over time, usually. A couple of them, like that one there, are a little more important. Sometimes you'll be left, like, losing multiple seconds trying to chase a blue stud. But that's also kind of on you to avoid in your routing decisions and just how you approach it. Yeah, it's really not that big of a deal, especially that's a big reason why we allow Stud Magnet. When we initially made the True Jedi Rush ILs, the ILs existed before the full game category did, and we copied the rule set from, like, the character bonuses and, like, Newtown, Lego City, all of the levels where you have to, like, get 1,000,000 studs to beat it. And in the game, it will disable a bunch of extras, including score multipliers, character studs, poo money, and stud magnet. So that's the rule set we copied over when we were making the True Jedi Rush ILs. But then before it was ever added as a full game category, we decided that it's just not as fun without stud magnet. Stud magnet improves the category a good amount. It mitigates the RNG and just makes it quite a bit less tedious in some of these long levels like this one. Oh. So yeah, it is allowed now. All of the other extras that, like, generate more studs are still banned, but yeah. We do have access to Stud Magnet, and a couple of the ILs have gone down. You know, we've had, like, new routes discovered for them because of that change, which has been pretty cool. some high studs there. We're at like 80,000, so you need 35,000 more out of the library and the end room. There's a power-up here that's going to help us a good amount there, but it's still just like, there's nothing crazy to be had. It's still pretty tedious in Ruin of the Jedi. So, yeah, we're just going to be entering all of these little pods here, whatever they're called, and just, there are studs to be had in all of them. You see, like, 10 or 12 gold studs on top of that thing. That's pretty good to have. Now we have the power-up, so we're doubling our stud intake, obviously. A couple of blues. There's a blue stud in this corner, 2 in this corner, and we can get a mini-kit stud up top. And there's a pretty, like, max height triple jump you have to do to get over this wall, and that's going to happen. Unfortunately, the power-up runs out, but you don't really expect to have it at this point anyway. And I'm getting pretty close to enough studs. I need, yeah, about 10,000 more. I am going to clip into the end room here. I'm just going to grab a few studs. I'm just going to go down here, get all these, and then take this mini-kit stud and leave. Sometimes you have a small enough amount of studs that you need to do stuff in the end room, like you basically do the puzzle that spawns in the mini-kit. Or not spawns it in, but like that you're supposed to do to get access to it. If you do that puzzle, you get a couple extra blue studs, but generally you hope to not have to because it takes some time. Let's see, a max height triple jump over this wall. We're going to get over here. We're going to get a bunch of blue studs, or not blues, they're the blue stud, but a bunch of studs in general from these pods. And I need 2,000 more, so I think this will be enough. In here, yeah, True Jedi. And honestly made pretty good time doing it. I did save like 45 seconds to record on that split. That one, yeah, that one can be even worse. I swear, like, the levels will get a lot faster very soon. Not gonna happen yet. We have Ruin of the Jet, or, sorry, this level is Kashyyyk. It has a 90,000 stud requirement. So we're gonna be back to a life of kind of grinding out stuff like this. It's kind of lucky that these torch things on these platforms will let you just shoot them, because you also can, like, force them, but for some reason you don't, it doesn't, like, give you any more studs than if you just shoot them all right away. Yeah, we're gonna go for the red brick area. We already have that red brick in the chamber, but the studs it spawns are also nice. And yeah, another spot where we're just gonna spam shoot all these little torch things around the edges. Some studs on this platform as well. And we can go clip. And yeah, this is the first of the 2 normal free play clips that you do. And I'm going to go over here, quick grab this blue stud and some surrounding golds, and now I'm going to take the movement up top. You can jump off of this helmet dispenser to get up on that path towards the mini kit. And a couple of blue studs on the way. Don't want to fall down, that would be really annoying, but thankfully just barely save it. And yeah, I'm going to go slightly out of order here because I want to go up ahead and just shoot all of these. But to go forward past here, I would need to free all the Wookiees and watch them walk to the buttons. Obviously, that takes some time, so instead we're going to go back. We're going to grab like a blue stud right here and a couple of boxes, and now we're going to do the clip that you would do in free play. That one's a really weird one. You don't actually slam for that one. It's just a double jump switch into Droideka. And now I have to carefully navigate around the kill plane. I actually went too far around the kill plane that I fell. There is sort of a small window in between those 2 things where you can just stay alive and get under this end platform. And the beach is going to have quite a few studs here. I'm going to bypass this area down the middle that has the most studs. I'm going to, tactically avoid it because I want to come back with a power-up. So we'll get the mini-kit stud up there. Gonna stay top. I don't want to blow that up. I do want to blow this one up. This will give me the power-up. And now I can blow this up. Start start grabbing these studs that they spawn. Also, building these is going to give me like 3,000. And so with the power-up, that's very nice to have. There's a blue stud just sitting down here. And another one of these builds as the power-up runs out. This is something where, like, you could 1p2c those builds, and I've messed around with it. But player 2 without the power-up is still going to grab a few studs. I don't know quite what's worth it. Because if you don't 1p2c, obviously, it just expires before you get everything anyway. As we saw. There is definitely, I mean, I talk about how hard 1p2c is, but, like, if you are really good at it and can pull it off, you can put it, like, everywhere in this category. You can be saving so much time. I don't know. I don't think I'm good enough to really dig into that, but there's some really crazy stuff you can do. Also, a lot of potential for, like, co-op. Shout out to Saber. I've done a co-op run of this category with him. We didn't, like, beat solo or anything. We weren't, like, grinding it, but I think if someone wants to, you know, an optimized co-op record would look, I think, a lot better than an optimized solo record. I don't know. Tough to say. We're going to get this power up. We're going to get the blue studs with it. And I need 8,000 more, which actually, of course, is 4,000 because of the double with the power up. And there's going to be one right there. A couple blue studs just sitting in the air, and that will be enough to end it. Okay. Now the levels are going to start to get shorter. At least we get a pretty quick one coming up in General Grievous. 5,000 studs for True Jedi. And we're going to spawn in staring straight at a power-up sitting right next to a blue stud. It's really incredible stuff. There are, honestly, kind of a lot of blue studs sitting around, but you don't have to get, like, any of them, you know, other than this first couple. And that's already True Jedi. That is a 26.2 split there. You know, almost all of that taking place in kind of the between-level stuff. Okay, this takes us into Chancellor and Payroll. Couple of very good power-ups in this level, but also just some, a little bit of grinding required to get the 80,000 you need for True Jedi here. Gonna start with the clip here. We basically ignore Room 1. Other than that blue stud at the top, we don't really, not a lot for us here. We're gonna bypass it and get into some of the better stuff here. Blue stud there. A lot of studs sitting on the ground in this room. And there is a stud generator off to the left I'm gonna be able to go for. So, yeah, and that's one of the better ones. That's like 9,000 studs right there. So, really important to get that. Again, like, kind of unfortunate the power-up isn't back here, but the power-ups that we do get are still pretty well placed. So I can't complain. Okay, that's not the movement I really mean to be doing. Alright. And yeah, actually on the left, there is a mini-kit still left uncollected on the file. Honestly, it's just all of the mini-kits are in useful spots, and you can't get all 10 of them. I think I haven't explained that yet, but you'll see why very shortly. I can't get all 10 of the mini-kits, and so we just have to cut out going to the left, because all of the other mini-kits are even more in our path. And we do go all the way to the end of this level, because there are just a lot of studs at the end, and a power-up. And it doesn't take too long to do the free play stuff through there, so obviously take this power-up, grab all the blue studs in the room, good stuff there. And as that expires, we're going to clip through to here. We don't have to open these doors, we can just stud magnet grab the studs through them, which is pretty convenient. And here, similar to Vader Room 1, I want to make sure player 2 is not Yoda, because if player 2 is Yoda, they will die, because they're not fast enough. And if player 2 dies, then the room restarts. Yeah, 20,000 more studs to collect. I will get a few right now with, like, this mini kit and that ramp. But we're really targeting the end room with the power-up and all that to close out the level. Yeah, blue stud there. There's going to be 2 minikit studs sitting up here, and just a lot of golds sitting around, and 1 blue over here, so we should be able to end it on the minikit stud. 80,000, true Jedi. And a pretty good gold split for me. That's pretty fun. Alright. Coming up next, we have the battle over Coruscant. And this level is interesting. It's definitely not as long as most categories. There are a lot of studs to be had in this level. I'm going to be taking a couple of intentional deaths, because this first part is honestly the part with the most studs. So I want to be playing through it a couple of times to really get to the stud count I need. And so that's going to mean taking this death after I collect the studs so I can just shoot these things again. And yeah, that's going to be enough. I will mention that you can actually play this level without taking that death. That's sort of the fastest strat. Wii Super has an IL where he does that. And the one problem is, honestly, I just am not... I can't mash fast enough to get that many studs. I really don't know how he does it. He's really good at getting studs in this level. Because the problem is, if you go any farther than where I ended that level, the studs dry up pretty fast for quite a while. It's those little red turret things I was shooting that really give a ton of studs, and you just want to mash shots into them as fast as possible. Okay. This takes us to Episode 2, and Episode 2 is by far the shortest. There is no level in this episode that takes a long time, other than, sort of BHP. But these first couple levels are going to be incredibly fast. And this starts with Dooku. Gonna do the normal free play skip here, the out of bounds movement with Jar Jar, who is a little bit faster than our normal characters. And now that we have the power up, we can just start wailing away at these little metal boxes that contain quite a lot of studs each. Not many studs required for True Jedi. We're just gonna get them very quickly, shooting all this stuff. We have it already. Less than a minute split there. And now we get the gold brick cutscenes. So, I mentioned earlier that we can't collect all 10 minikits. So, that is because of these gold brick cutscenes. Basically, every gold brick the game gives you past, 60, it gives you 100,000 studs. And it feels the need to show you this with an unskippable status screen every single time. So what that means is that for every gold brick we have, because we're guaranteed to go over 60, for every extra gold brick we get, that is an extra gold brick cutscene. In making the file for this, it was very important to minimize the number of gold bricks collected. Which means, we have to get the 36 from just beating every level in story, but that is all we need to get. We have gotten no other gold bricks, and that's going to help. Also, you'll see here, I am doing some cool free play tech where if you spam character swaps while out of bounds, or over the void, you can actually stay up. And now we enter the end room with basically no studs. But that's going to be fine because the power-ups inside of these blue little pillars are going to be enough to give us enough studs. The way to beat this, to get True Jedi in this level, is honestly just to play it normally like it's free play. Which is kind of funny to me, but yeah. You have to open these things up as you would in free play to really get the studs. And of course the power-up's very important. So, our best way to do it is just to do it, same way we would in free play. The only difference, really... Okay, I accidentally VSB'd that. That is not... Wait, that was optimal. Whoa. Okay, I usually just keep playing through and destroy those pillars, but apparently I had just enough studs that was not necessary, which really saved me. Alright. Another very fast one. Jedi Battle only needs 16,000 studs. There's going to be a power-up very quickly to our right. And we're just going to walk it forward, grab 8 blues very quick. And you can see the blue studs are surrounding that first pillar. They're all over the place in this level. We're going to get one behind this cage. Stud Magnet makes that grab easy. And just, you don't even have to go up on the platform, just get vaguely near it, and it will be grabbed. I am actually short 30 studs. I don't know how this happened. Apparently I completed first pillar. That's pretty cool. Alright. Moving on. Droid Factory is next. This level also has just a lot of studs towards the end. So we're going to be not fully ignoring studs before that, but there are definitely a lot of studs I'm going to be choosing to bypass, including, like, straight back at the opening. You just don't have to do that. There are a couple dozen studs back there, though. And yeah, 55,000 is the requirement. Not a small number, really, but this level just has a lot of blue studs. And stud magnet's going to be really nice. You saw that grab there where I, like, just kind of vaguely went near the platform and multiple blues fell in my bank. These blue studs on the conveyor, I just have to be near them, I have to breathe on them, and I will get them. Now, this room is weird because we're actually going to be ignoring a power-up. There is a power-up below me right now, but you have to do a couple of, little bit of work to get it to spawn, and it's just not worth it because we don't need it. There are studs to be had later, so we're just going to be jumping straight by. We're going to take just a tiny diversion there to get like 3,000 studs. Yeah, just grab a couple of those blue studs. You don't have to fully commit to dying or rotating the platform, which you would otherwise have to. And this power-up is really the key to everything, because we're going to bring it into the red brick room, and there are a lot of studs in here. Right towards the red brick at the end, especially. And you see the red brick uncollected. That is the character studs red brick. It's one that at times I really wish we could have, but, unfortunately not allowed in this category. Now, Camino up next feels like it would be a long level, but very similar to Droid Factory, there just are a lot of studs. The stud requirement is 65k, but you'll see as soon as we load in that there really is not going to be any problem hitting that number. And you just see the blue studs everywhere. So we're going to be circling room 1, grabbing all of them. And as we carry forward, there will also be more studs, and very crucial power-up going to get us there. This is where I need something to say, like... I think there is one somewhat important mechanic I haven't explained yet with the studs. And that's going to be when you get a lot of studs exploding onto your screen at once. You're going to see, maybe not in this level, it doesn't happen, but it'll come up later on. It has come up a ton throughout the run so far. I'm going to be able to, there's a mechanic to auto-collect the studs if there is a ton of them on screen. And at least the working theory for why this is very similar if you know how Roger skip works in 90%. There's 64 part slots in memory, and, studs that come out of, stud explosions are part of that cap. And, okay, so that was not meant to hit that cutscene, by the way, but it should be fine once I can get my movement back. But yeah, basically, there's only room for 64 studs in that, parts list in memory, and once you get above that, it will just get rid of them by auto-collecting them for you. So in situations where we create a ton of studs and a ton of, gold and silver studs, we're just going to be able to collect them automatically, which is pretty convenient. Slight mess up there on the character management, but I do want to make sure I get that done. And we're coming into Bounty Hunter Pursuit next. This level, one of the more annoying vehicle levels. It's not too bad, but we do have to be very careful, I'll say. Similar to something like Speeder Showdown, there are a lot of studs towards the end of the level, but they are after a point where we cannot backtrack. So we have to be very careful that we actually have enough studs before we enter the second light room in this level. To do that, I want to get just like 5,000 studs out of this first room. There is a power-up here. Not a lot that we can do with it. The studs are pretty sparse, pretty tedious to collect in room 1. But we can at least get a little bit. You know, we get the mini kit. That's a pretty nice collection of studs. And yeah, that's going to be enough. I'm going to just grab a couple extra for safety, because safety is going to be very important in this level. Yeah, we cannot backtrack out of the second light room, as I mentioned. And also, I mean, you can go forward into the Zam fight from the second light room, but there are literally 0 studs in the Zam fight, and also you can't backtrack out of there. So it's going to be very important to not accidentally enter the Zam fight, which is something I've done before. It's more reasonable than it might sound. Not really any concerns like that in room 1. We can just freely complete the room by destroying these towers, and these towers are going to give us studs. So, a very good thing to do. Otherwise, the clip out of this room is very easy, just no reason to do it when we actually need the studs from destroying those. But yeah, pretty happy with the stud count. We're going to pick up the power up here, and that's going to make us, put us in a good spot. I'm going to go for this hit here with the penguin signs. And these blue turrets also drop a good amount, but it spreads out in a pretty annoying way. Yeah, okay, so I do need 45,000 total. You can usually get 25,000 out of this room, so I'm just going to go in now. The one kind of variance part of it, though, is that you have the power-up, and you really need to make sure you get your value out of it. It's a matter of life or death, really, if I do. Yeah. Because I'm stuck here now, so that's why I wanted to be safe with my stud grabbing. I mean, it's a generally true thing in this category that, like, what you do in the time where you have a power-up is, like, the most important gameplay. Because, everything you do there counts for double. And if you, fail to do all of the routing you normally do with the power-up, you're just, like, losing studs, and there's not always a good place to back that up. I say that as our next level coming up is going to be 1-1. This is, like, the tightest and most important power-up routing in the entire category, I'd say. There's just, there's a lot of studs at the very start of the level, basically, and the power-up is, like, pretty far into room 1. So you want to try to grab the power-up and bring it back to where all of the studs are. And if you execute it well, it's going to make the level very fast, but, if you miss it, you're going to be, like, 10,000 studs short, and then you have to do a little bit of, forcing everything around you type stud grinding. So, we're going to start right away, though, just by grabbing these studs in the first bit of the room. And yeah, blue stud there, force this, and now I'm going to kind of prepare for that stud routing by putting player 2 right here, using the panel that will be now open the next time I need it. Which is going to be, after I grab the power-up, immediately turning around, and I am on a very tight timer right now. I need to peek into this left room. I'm going to grab, like, 10 blue studs just floating in the air. And I skipped the transition. That's actually kind of nice. And now I want to get the stud generator studs, and I do get most of them with the power-up. That's going to be really nice. And that means I'm basically good to just leave room 1. Which still is, like, a bit of rolling with Droidica. We would normally clip out of bounds here, but I destroyed the barrel that we clip on. Because it's where the power-up is. And there is an alternate way to clip past both of these walls separately, but those clips are very hard, and I do like just building the panel to get all the studs that it drops. So that's what we're going to be doing instead, and we're going to be ending with this power-up. Bring it up to where all these blue studs are. Uh, yeah, somewhere along this line I'll end the level. And I want to just do character management quick, but that is 1-1 completed. Alright, this brings us into Escape from Naboo. Or, sorry, this is Invasion. This is Invasion. Invasion, the most competitive IL in this category. Me and T-Fresh have gone back and forth with this quite a bit. I believe Zero also has a competitive run. It's a very fun one. It's just a very tight route. Pretty fast level. And there has actually been a recent routing change with the, inclusion of Stud Magnet being allowed. We can skip the power-up in Room 1 that we used to grab. So I'm just going to be bypassing that. It is going to leave me with not as many studs coming out of Room 1, but it's important that I still have Stud Magnet. I can still grab some of these studs that used to be, only gettable from the power-up. It's those ones that I just grabbed behind there. You used to either need the power-up or need to force the thing, and then it's just worth it to grab the power-up because you double them also. It's pretty good, but without the power-up, with Stud Magnet now, I can still get them, and I'm still going to be fine. Coming into here, which is where I'm going to get the power-up that I use to get most of my studs. I'm skipping by some stuff for now until I pick this thing up. I'm going to get this high blue stud right away, and I'm going to shoot the tank and blow it up. And there are 2 blue studs that are going to pop out. I'm going to grab those. Decent RNG on the stud spread. This is, like, the one place where stud spread RNG kind of matters, and it's only because the IL is, like, optimized down to the second or two. But yeah, we're going to get out of there pretty quick. And only 4 more levels left. 2 to 3 of them are going to be very fast. So there's only 1 long level coming up, and that's Theed. But the other level in Naboo is going to be super quick. For a long time, like when I first routed the category, I did not know about this bed of flowers in Room 1, but it gives you so many studs. It, like, genuinely cut, like, 2 minutes off the route of this level when I realized those flowers existed. Just look at how many studs I'm gonna get right now. I mean, it's like 5 blue studs for each of those forces, and I actually messed this up quite a lot. Can we be getting this, please? Yeah, but it's not a big deal. Still have the power-up when I need it, so not really the time loss I need to fear. And I did mess up the free play trick there. Kind of a harder optimization, also doesn't matter that much. Okay, 60,000 is the requirement. I believe I will have enough to get there by the end of the level. If not, it should be a quick backup, as long as I don't mess up the power-up routing. Oh, no. Okay. We hopefully are fine. I actually didn't need to really worry about that blue stud, but now that I did, I hope I'm fine. Anyway, there's a purple stud. That's the real headline coming up. There's a purple stud, and we're bringing the power up to the purple stud. Okay, barely got that off. Obviously, yeah, if I had missed the routing and I was like a second away from doing it, I would have needed to scrounge around for 10,000 more studs. That would have taken at least an extra minute. So, big relief to get out of there, relatively unscathed. Alright, coming up next, we have the pod race. No god fraud, nothing like that. We don't really want to be skipping any of the level because the studs are spread out everywhere. We're just going to be kind of driving the lap at a leisurely pace and picking them up. So, yeah, not a ton to say here. Let's switch to the TIE Fighter to get up the service ramp. Small little time save. I just want to get as many of these little crystals as we can. I actually don't think switching to Arc Fighter helps at all. It's sort of a placebo thing. It looks like it would make your hitbox way bigger and you get all of them, but, like, I did miss, like, half of them still. So, it might not do anything. But yeah, 45,000 studs required, so we're pretty close to having that already. Just need to do a little more dodging and weaving. And we're going to be done right now. Alright, 2 more levels to go. Theed Palace is the big one, though. 100,000 studs for True Jedi. And there's not a great place to get a lot of studs, to be honest. Like, there will be some places. This is also, I brought up the stud auto-collect mechanic. This level is going to be a clearer place to showcase it. I'll point that out when it happens. But we're going to be starting with this power-up. And there's just 3 floating blue studs that I don't really know what they're doing there, but pretty convenient to get us off to a nice start. And I'm going to be bypassing a lot of flowers here that do have studs, because I just want to rush to, like, this blue stud. And there's another one. I want to get those with the power-up first, before I do anything else. And I was able to make that all work in time. So now I can actually just skip a lot of these flower beds. I just want to get around 20,000 studs. That blue stud will... There is also a really weirdly placed blue stud in the ceiling there. So, that's going to be plenty for room 1. And this is where we're going to see that stud auto-collect mechanic really happen. When I shoot these walls, there's just a million different little silver studs, and when it can't put that many on screen at once, it's just going to collect them for me. So, pretty nice stuff. And that's going to be me clipping out of room 1. You get a mini-kit stud in there. And a few more windows I can shoot that will, again, auto-collect a bunch of studs. Oh yeah, a little optimization I kind of forgot to do. It won't save time now, but if you can just see, have player 2 pre-use the panel. It is slightly better. Yeah, a lot of these red lamps to force, and they're pretty good. The stud spread from them is a little bit crazy, which is not ideal, but other than that, I do... You know, I'm happy to get these studs out. Pretty high concentration. We are now halfway to True Jedi. And this next room, Feed 1, is going to give us a good amount of studs. There is a weird blue stud just kind of sitting in the sky at the beginning. And we're going to get this power-up off to the left now. And yeah, with this power-up, we climb up the wall here. Blue studs to be had, and when we fall down, there's also just a million gold studs below us. So, you know, every little bit helps. And I'm going to try to get to these blues in time. Rarely happens. I actually did double both of them. Barely got there in time. That's pretty crazy. And yeah. Making our way out of the level, I actually want to press that button. Not optimal to just kind of walk next to it and die. So, we're going to get that right on the second try. Yeah, still need to dig up 30,000 studs. There are going to be a few, like we're going to grab the mini-kit stuff down here. This is honestly a pretty 1v2 seeable section. If the camera were to cooperate, I actually am not sure how much it would. Because, yeah, those studs are way up there, and then these kind of weird platforms lead to some studs, also way in the sky. I don't know if there's a way to jump straight to the top platform. That would be also pretty much... That would be pretty cool. So, yeah, I'm going to need to get around 80,000 studs before I can continue, so we're just going to do some random, like, forcing and destroying stuff in Threed. Which is, you know, not the best place to get studs from, but it's a reasonable backup place from some of the stud. I was a little bit short in some of those earlier rooms, so this is a good spot to get you know, set ourselves right here. Just a couple thousand more, and then I will be back on my way. Yeah, that should be fine. And we're gonna come... Before we get to the end room, we are going to play out this little circle room here, which is going to have a couple thousand studs on the right side. We go up these little stairs. think those stairs are honestly a good example of, like, the kind of random places we get to go in this category that you just would never have any reason to think about. Other than, I think that one has a challenge kit, actually. But, yeah, certainly what I like about this category is just all of the, like, weird stuff you do that you just are never doing anywhere else. There's also a lot of, like, on-the-fly routing, just sort of understanding how many studs you have and, like, how many do you normally get from the ending? Is there some kind of, like, extra backup to get more studs? You know, if you have, like, too many studs, is there a way you can, like, play it faster by routing out some studs? You know, that kind of on-the-fly optimization, really, there's room for that to happen, because there's always just going to be a natural, yeah, at least slight variance in how many studs you get from some of these things. So, it's, you know, something you don't get really in any other category in this game, but you do have it here, and I'm not really executing it to the fullest potential at all. You really do have to get familiar with, like, exact stud counts in every room and some kind of crazy stuff, but the kind of mental skill ceiling in this category is incredibly high, and it's just a very unexplored area of the game, I would say. Okay, I need like 500 more studs. Where am I getting that from? It's not here. This is annoying, actually. Oh, wait, that's enough. Okay. Good, good, good. So yeah, one level left in the run. It is Darth Maul. 64,000 studs required. There is another purple stud, and that is pretty cool. That's going to be, you know, a big feature point of the routing, especially coming into the that third room where it lies. We're going to hope to take a power up to it and end on the purple stud. So before that, we have a little bit of stud grabbing to do in this first room. We're going to do a little clip to get behind the wall here to skip, like, opening the big door. If I can actually get the clip, what is happening? Is it... Okay, I swear that clip is like a different set of inputs every time I do it, but we do get back here. We get around 4,000 studs, and now I can weirdly clip back through the wall in a specific way. And now we're going to be entering the red room. And weirdly, the lamps on the right side of the room take like a lot longer to force and have way less studs. So we're just going to completely ignore them. I'm just going to grab the stuff on the left, grab a couple blue studs, and we're going to be out of here. And a little bit more stud grabbing to do in this section. Just a couple of loose blue studs sitting around. And for safety, I'm going to force a couple of these lamps, but, you know, not even strictly necessary. We're going to have enough studs to go into room 2. And if you've, you know, seen this room, you should know there's a lot of studs up top. And unlike in a, you know, modern any percent run, we are going to be grabbing hopefully every single one of them. So yeah, 64,000 is the stud requirement. 10,000 obviously for the purple stud, but we hopefully double it, right? So I need 44,000, and now I can go get the stud. And time is going to stop as soon as I save and exit after grabbing the stud. A quick boba fly to it, and there it is. There it is. Time stops now, and I get record. That's pretty fun. Okay. So, okay, at this point, probably just throw in some thank yous and stuff. I don't know if I should address if I'm on record pace like this, because, like, I definitely could be. If I just got record there, why can't I get, like, the first sub 140 live at Legothon? That would be kind of funny. It won't happen, because I will be running in the morning. Not at my 3 a.m. peak gameplay.